9 unique borders you will regret if you do not see them. The world is a segregated place with strict borders between countries, so that we know where is where, but some of these borders are as simple as a mere straight line. From a border that cuts through a mountain to a town where you need a passport to cross the road, these are the unique borders you will regret if you do not see. Number 9. Indonesia and Malaysia. The border between the Southeast Asian countries of Indonesia and Malaysia consists of both a land and a sea border, separating the two countries. Essentially, you are getting two borders for the price of one land and one sea. On the land, the ground beneath your feet is even a different color depending on which side of the border you are on. It is pretty strange, but nothing compared to what is coming up. But before we get there, smash the like button, subscribe and ring the notification bell so you won't miss any of our updates. Okay, let's proceed. Number 8. Korean Demilitarized Zone. The Korean DMZ is a strip of land about 160 miles long and 2.5 miles wide, dividing North and South Korea. So brace yourself, it's about to get heavier than Dwayne Johnson wearing a suit of armor. This border isn't just militarized, it is the most heavily militarized border in the world. But out of this fear and aggression, something oddly beautiful has happened, like a gorgeous rose sprouting out of Thanos' armpit. Now let's explain this. Because the divide is so heavily guarded, almost nobody enters it. With so few humans street walking through, it has created a nature preserve. A number of highly endangered species have taken up residence there, and there are indications that some of them may even be increasing in population. Out of hostility, new nature is prospering. The DMZ is also notable in that it does not limit the border per se, it surrounds a military demarcation line. A border between the two Koreas cannot be formally agreed upon as the two nations are technically still at war, but in the tiny gap between the warring lands, there is a hopeful cluster of new life. Number 7. Derby Line, Vermont. Sometimes borders ripple through roads or oceans or even mountains. In the case of Vermont, the border strikes right through a town. It is such a part of the town's identity that they've even incorporated line into the name. This is the quaint little town of Derby Line, and it perfectly marks the US-Canada border. 1 minute you're in US, but then a quick pop to the shop and you're in Canada. Back in the day, this used to not be a problem, but since about 2008, border control has gotten strict. The locals have got to have a passport on them at all times just to cross the road. One building was even constructed on the border itself, the Haskell Free Library and Opera House. This facility was deliberately built on the border for the gimmick mostly. The opera stage is in Canada, but all the seats are in the US. I mean, how crazy is that? If you throw a tomato at the bad actor's head, that tomato is going to need a passport. Number 6. TUMEN River. The Tumen is a river in northeastern Asia in an area near the coast on the border between Russia and North Korea. The Tumen sneaks down between Russia and North Korea and is actually in Chinese territory. Thus, in this area, you can start off in North Korea, and just by walking north for less than a half mile, you will pass through China and end up in Russia. Although that might not be a good idea. It's a common place for North Koreans to attempt a defect, and for that reason, just like the Korean DMZ, it is heavily patrolled by North Korean soldiers. Again, this is an area where intense security meets serene beauty. Though the gorgeous and winding river is a sight to behold, the presence of heavily armed soldiers somehow sours the view. The beautiful sound of trickling water is a touch less beautiful when it's matched up with so many army boots. Number 5. COOCH-BEHAR District. The COOCH-BEHAR district has a similar confusing border as the last example on our list. An innocent game of hopscotch here will take you from one country to another and back again. There are a number of patches of land which are Bangladeshi, but they are inside India and the same applies in the other direction. This alone is strange enough, but it gets even weirder. The exclave known as Balapara Kagrabari is Indian, but it is surrounded from all angles by Bangladeshi territory. This is already confusing, but taking it a little up the confusing notch, Balapara Kagrabari itself surrounds another smaller patch of Indian land, the Hala Kagrabari. This makes it the only place in the entire world where not one, not two, but 3 exclaves of land are inside each other. So there's one Indian territory inside another Indian territory inside Bangladeshi land. Aye, my head hurts just thinking about it. Number 4. Mount Everest. If this was a list of the world's tallest mountains, then the presence of the Mount Everest wouldn't shock you. But what is it doing on the countdown of unique borders though? Well, while there are a lot of well-known facts about Mount Everest, what you may not know is that the border of China and Nepal passes right through the middle of the Mount Everest, including the peak itself. If you live in Derby Line, there is literally nothing stopping you from bouncing between US and Canada whenever you fancy. But in this case, there is literally a mountain in the way. This means that not only is Mount Everest the tallest mountain in the world, but also the tallest border. If you were to reach the very peak and straddle one leg on either side, not only will you be higher than a shocked giraffe's eyebrow, but you will be 50% in China and 50% in Nepal. Number 3. District of Columbia. The District of Columbia was originally a big diamond carved out of Maryland and Virginia. Due to its size, shape and location, the border has some unusual features. When it was originally delineated, large stones were placed 1 mile apart around the entire district to define the border. 100 stones in all, since the original district was 10 miles long on each side. A few of the stones are missing today, but most are still present. There is one in Silver Spring, Maryland that marks the northernmost point of the district. The border is unusual in other ways as well. Eastern Avenue and Western Avenue form the northeast and northwest borders, respectively. If you're walking on a sidewalk on the northern side of the street, you're in Maryland, but the street itself is in the district. Number 2. The Diomedes. The Diomedes are a pair of islands in the Bering Strait. Little Diomede, that's the smaller one, hosts the American city of Diomede with a population of about 146. Big Diomede belongs to Russia and is uninhabited. The two islands are only about 2.5 miles apart, so far so normal. Nothing particularly strange about there being two islands near each other, but this is where things get unique. The international date line passes between the Diomedes and also serves as the borderline between the United States and Russia. Thus, when residents on Little Diomedes look across the street at Big Diomedes, they're not just looking at another country, they are looking into tomorrow. For example, when it's 9 a.m. on Friday on Little Diomedes, it is 6 a.m. on Saturday on Big Diomedes. If that's not some Dr. Who level craziness, then I don't know what it is. It's like something out of Kurt Vonnegut's novel. Number 1. Egypt and Sudan. Bir Tawil is a plot of land about 795 square miles in size. It lies between Egypt and Sudan and was accidentally created in 1902 when the United Kingdom drew a different border from that which was created in 1899. Sometimes when you are clumsy, you might smash a glass. Other times, you completely change a country's border. Oops, now depending on which version of the border you accept, a certain patch of land moves from Egypt to Sudan. This region has been called Bir Tawil, and here is the thing about it. It is apparently a great big trash fire of a place. Egypt and Sudan constantly squabble about whether to yield to the 1902 or the 1899 border, but that's not because they both want more land. It is because neither of them want poor Bir Tawil. Egypt claims that the 1899 border is correct as it gives Bir Tawil to Sudan, and yes, you guessed it. Sudan claims the 1902 border is correct because, well, it gives the unwanted land to Egypt. Bir Tawil is the ugly stepchild nobody wants. Both countries insist that it belongs to the other, like divorced parents arguing who takes the kid for the day. This means that other than Antarctica, Bir Tawil is the only piece of land that has never been claimed in the whole world. Which of these borders did you find the most unique? Tell us in the comment section. And hey, do not forget to do the needful, like, subscribe and ring that notification bell.